We're doing it.
I'm gonna open a LaCroix
Mm.
and we're off to the races. Welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for watching the video today. We're gonna be talking about hot takes.
I don't know if this is such a hot take anymore, but Zordon is a terrible mentor.
He's such a bad person.
It's terrible. Like, first off, the fact that he even chose teenagers to be the leader of this intergalactic war. I mean, it's probably just because they were impressionable and they're like, yeah, I'll be a superhero. Why not? If they were like 30 years old, they'd be like, I
Yeah.
think I'm good, Zordon. I
What are the
got
medical
like
benefits?
Yeah, what are the medical benefits? Like, does this come with like paying? Am I doing this all for free? Like, what's up? Is Rita like actually good, but you just don't like her? Why does Rita want to attack us? Just because, or did you wrong her in some way? Like, what's up?
Yeah, there's some history there.
I will say I enjoyed in the 2017 movie the relationship between Zordon and Rita. It wasn't just like a random, she's an evil witch, kill her.
I thought that was a stroke of genius, actually, making her. That's also, then it makes sense why she has the green coin and why she would be
Mm-hmm.
looking to pass on the power. And it was a fun new costume design. I was thinking recently, though, that it's not entirely Zordon's fault that they're using high schoolers because he did say teenagers with attitude, and
Mm-hmm.
Alpha chose 15. He could have chosen 18 or 19, which isn't a lot better, but it's better.
It's a little bit better. I agree with that. So they're both to blame. I will say that they did enjoy it. So I guess and it spawned a 30-year legacy.
It did. They have a lot more trauma unpacking in the comic books and stuff. In the show, you never really get it. Well, once and always got into it a little bit, the issues that come up from being a superhero and having a secret identity, but a lot in the show, it's just like, yeah, they're fine.
We'll kind of get over it. Just the next day happens and we're back in class until Zordon pulls us out again.
There's like this hat rack behind me that keeps like
I
keying.
see it like pops in every now and
Stop
again.
it. Go away, hat. Well, if we're talking about Mighty Morphin, the first hot take I was able to come up with is I think Lord Zedd is not actually a good villain. I mean, he's a good villain from a writing perspective. I don't think he's accomplished a lot. Like
Oh
he's
no.
all hot air. If you think about it, Rita's the one who imprisons Zordon. And then when it comes to actually killing a ranger, Rita kills Trini in Once and Always. Zedd's never killed anybody. He's never accomplished anything. It was like 50-50 when they blew up the base, him and Rita. And also it was nowhere near as impressive as when Divatox takes over the base. He messed up with the Zeo crystal and burned all his skin off. He got a love potion and Rita just basically took the palace back over, like usurped him completely. And
Hmm.
then he gets taken advantage of in Cosmic Fury again by Scrozzle and Squilia. Everyone has this sense of reverence about Zedd, like, oh, he's so bad. I'm like, he has a great voice and a cool costume, and I like his staff, but does that man ever do anything?
No, he hasn't. I will say he came closest in Cosmic Fury.
He is in the second season of Dino Fury, where
That's
he
what I meant.
kidnaps all the Rangers. Or am I conflating that with Void Knight kidnapping all the Rangers and Zedd actually didn't do anything that cool? He does come back
He
and
does.
he walks around.
Oh,
Uh,
I can't remember. I gotta rewatch it.
I gotta start rewatching seasons. It's to the point where I know enough of what happens, but it's been too long since I've seen it.
I tried to rewatch Mighty Morphin, and then as much as I love Mighty Morphin, there's no overarching plot, and it's just Monster of the Week, and I'm just like,
It,
okay.
it's
It,
madness. You know, they got into that formula of two seasons, 22 episodes each, sort of like in the Neo Saban Hasbro era. And then before
hmm
that, it was kind of like 40-ish episodes. Mighty Morphin is just completely off the rails. It's like 80 episodes in one season and then like 62 in another season. When was this airing and how does this make sense?
Obviously, there's still a lot of shining moments in Mighty Morphin. It's still a fun watch every now and again.
I think I might have to rewatch that one while rewatching another season. You could get your dose of an overarching plot and then binge like 5 episodes of Mighty Morphin and be like, oh, that was fun.
Back to a story that has substance in it, like Lost Galaxy.
Lost Galaxy is really good.
I love Lost Galaxy.
I liked it so much more than I thought I was going to. I feel like I wasn't sold on the suit designs when I originally saw them, and I wasn't
Mm,
really sold on the premise either. It seemed kind of like a band-aid premise for dealing with the fact that you intended for in space to be the end and you already got rid of all evil in the galaxy.
hmm
Whoa, what are we gonna do? Well, they're on a space station. They're going to the far reaches so they can find more evil. But yeah, it's like really good. The characters are actually well written and
Hmm.
it's interesting.
I
And
think one thing I really loved about Lost Galaxy was the fact that, all things considered, this was the first season where they were adults. I think the only one that didn't have a job was Leo. He's the only one that was kind of like a delinquent. Everybody else, they were, productive adults, and they just kind of happened to run upon this power.
I watched that season right when I was at my peak of being the trainer at my job. And the episode where Kai tries to train Leo to be in the military organization,
Hmm.
he like leaves the door unlocked and like doesn't know where the key is. That was like one of the times I have most empathized with an episode of Power Rangers. I was like, I have been through this. Why is everyone so stupid? I hate Leo. I'm on
Yes.
Kai's side.
I personally think Kindrix is one of the best Pink Rangers ever.
Kendrick is amazing.
I just love the fact that she's so intelligent, but yet she will absolutely fight you. I think there's one episode where it's just her, but she's fighting some monster and she's like in the woods and she's like jumping off of tree to tree. I'm like, this is so epic. At that time, you had Kim and Kat and Cassie, but they didn't do much acrobatics like jumping from tree to tree and how they scratched the ground and stuff like that. She was the first Pink Ranger that was more primal and had a little bit more grit to her, and I enjoyed that. But I still love Kim and Kat.
Honestly, Kim, Kat, and Cassie, I like all of them, but I feel like they were really kind of slept on by the writers. I think they just kind of fell on like Kimberly is Valley Girl, and that's all we really need for a Pink Ranger.
Yeah,
And then that kind of carried through with every Pink Ranger being kind of like, that's just a girl. Until Kindrix, they never really were like, well, let's do something
let's
else
let's
there.
give her something. Yeah, she's no longer the Valley Girl. She's the smartest one on the team.
I feel like Cassie almost has like a little bit of punk rock to her, but
Yeah,
that might even be down to the acting because I don't even remember what her extracurricular interests were.
I don't either.
I feel like she was just kind of there to argue with Ashley, and I
Could
don't
be.
know.
Yeah, I don't really know what her shtick was. Kim had the gymnastics.
Hmm.
She was really good at that. Kat.
High diver.
Ah, yeah, she
They
was.
talk about it in like two episodes.
But she was a cat first, and then cat and cat. And
And then
then Cassie, like I don't know what Cassie did. I don't think Cassie did anything.
yeah, she shows up on the bus with TJ. She's still going to high school like everybody else. Ashley's a cheerleader. Carlos was into soccer. Justin is super smart. And TJ is the only person to ever be nice to Bulk and Skull. That's his extracurricular activity.
There you go.
Speaking on Kindrix, are you Kindrix and Leo, Kindrix and Kai, or Kindrix and Maya? Which
Oh,
one do you ship?
I would have had to been Kendricks and Leo. Well, I loved Leo, so other than his aloofness, I was a huge fan of Leo. He's one of my top reds.
Leo's the only ranger I could think of to ever use intimidation in a fight. When he rips that shirt off, that is
Yeah,
fully, he's like, I'm gonna win the fight before the fight even starts here. Well, they're
yeah,
already fighting, but I feel like intimidation is kind of like a bad guy move, like trash
absolutely.
talking. So I really enjoy that he tries to psych Trakina out. I'm Kendricks and Kai. I feel like there was more chemistry there. But yeah, I would love if that was more developed because in
Yeah.
that first episode, when Leo first meets Kendricks, Kai's all defensive, like he's like,
Hmm.
"Oh, this is my girl," and she's kind of like, "I'm not really doing anything with either of you yet." And then there's like a couple tiny moments throughout the season where maybe like two of them are alone together, and it might seem like there's a little spark, but they never actually do anything with it. You set it up and then you just left
They
it.
tend
That
to do
was it.
that. What do you say? Your no cooties rule?
No cooties, yes. No kissing.
No, 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 no. Other than what was it? Just Tommy and Kim that
Tommy and
had their
Kim.
kiss.
That's it. They kiss in season one and season three, and there's like a weird silhouette scene where they might kiss in season two, and that's it, whole show. The thing that really gets me about that is that they film kisses with
Mm,
all the couples. Like I have heard confirmed by the actors, Izzy and
that
Fern
they, yeah.
filmed a kiss, Ashley and Andros filmed a kiss and they cut it, Wes and Jin filmed a kiss and they cut it, and I know that Calvin and Haley filmed a kiss and they cut it. And somebody was telling me I should try to find all of that footage. They were like,
Oh,
this guy that has all the unused cutting room floor footage, and I was like, how do I I would love to do that, but how would I get
Yeah, but
hold
how
of
do
that
you?
guy? And
I
like,
mean, a good start might be on Reddit. Go to one of the Power Rangers subreddits and say, "Hey, I hear that there's lost footage of such and such. Listen, the Power Rangers fandom, you never know. So there might be somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and the next thing you know, you got the footage.
I would
Yeah,
love to see that.
just a compilation of
Yeah.
everybody would be so good.
Then people can go back in and edit it into the
Yeah,
episode. It's right now. We fixed it. I've totally thought they were going to have a kiss in Cosmic Fury because it would have been so like perfect. Tommy is the first Green Ranger and he's the one who gets the kiss, and then she's the last Green Ranger and she gets a kiss. You'd be like bookends. They didn't do
close
it.
it. They didn't do it. Cowards.
I know. They
Netflix, you
filmed it. They
cowards.
didn't use it. Ah,
Oh, so sad. Who do you think is the most improved Ranger?
like from where they started to where they ended up.
Hmm.
Man, I feel like my first instinct is to say Billy, but Casey from Jungle Fury is also a really good candidate. Somebody who didn't know what they were doing. Obviously not Ziggy. He didn't know what he was doing, but he also kind of still doesn't at the end of the
Yeah.
season. The season always starts and you're like, "Oh, that's just someone from the street." And then they're like, "I took kung fu until I was 16." And you're like,
Yeah.
"Everyone just knows how to fight, I guess." Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Casey. Who do
I
you,
say Billy.
Billy?
Billy is the most improved in my mind because when you watch him at first, he's getting thrown around and always falling, and he doesn't really get to fight until he's morphed, and then you see him doing a little bit better. As the seasons progress, you just see him come into his own, and he becomes this master martial artist, and he's taking putties out with him and Kim. They're doing tricks together, flipping off each other's backs, and it's so good to see him go from the kid in the overalls being thrown into a rock wall and being knocked out to like taking down putties like nobody's business. It's so great and so cathartic to me.
Zeo Billy is one of my favorite badass characters. I just always go back to that episode where the prince tries to kidnap him and he's alone. I'm totally watching that. I was like, oh, come on. They're going to have the Machine Empire kidnap Billy and the other Rangers are going to have to go rescue him. That's such a dumb trope.
Right.
He's a badass and we all know it. And then this whole battalion of the robots, they all attack
Yeah.
him. And he just annihilates them. Like it's not, it's embarrassing. So calm and casual about it. He's just like, another day. I'm not a ranger. I don't have a morpher, but you guys are idiots for messing with me.
You know who I am? I'm
Yeah.
Billy. I'm the original Blue Ranger. He was like they were 15, 16 when they first got. So now he's like 19 years old at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's no longer in school. He's
Yeah.
graduated.
He graduates, so he's supposed to be 17 in that season, I think, because they everyone else graduates in Turbo and he graduates a year early because he like accidentally finished all the coursework early and the principal has to take him aside and tell him.
She's Tanya.
With her, it's all personality. She's
Mm.
personality badass. I will never get over they so brought in Adam, Rocky, and Aisha as band-aids and never wrote them any meaningful lines or character development. And then Aisha left in Alien Rangers, and they literally gave Rocky and Adam personalities in Zeo, and they gave these two great episodes, like bangers right out the gate for Tanya, that were obviously gonna be Aisha's if she had just held in there. She would have
Hmm.
finally gotten her good writing, but shitty work conditions.
Don't blame them one bit at all, but
I don't blame Carrie Ashley, but it's just a shame. I mean, Tanya's an awesome character, but
yeah,
Aisha
absolutely.
never really got what
Yeah.
she deserved.
I mean, other than Billy now, because we see like he got his storyline kind of closed up in Once and Always, and then in Cosmic Fury, Rocky, because he also got a little bit where like, he's a firefighter, and you got Tommy, obviously he's progressed through many seasons. But then Kat, we just kind of see that she's married to Tommy,
Yeah, she's Tommy's wife.
and they have a kid, little Tommy.
I'd like to know what she's doing. Is she a stay-at-home mom? She had dreams too.
That'd be so crazy. Like, Kat just got devolved, I guess, I don't know the right word, into just a stay-at-home mom. Like, she is a freaking cat.
If they had kept her character being able to shapeshift into a cat,
Oh,
the potential of things that I thought were going to happen when she first showed up, I was like, oh, okay, so she's a shapeshifter. But then they're like, well, that was just magic. Come on.
yeah, keep it. So good.
If you're in
The
a fight and like you need to get somewhere little, you'd be like, cat, quick, shapeshift and go in there and cut the
oh,
wires or whatever.
and then so good. Or like if the enemies don't know that she can shapeshift, then she can like shapeshift into the cat, get behind them. Then as she jumps, she like shapeshifts out of her cat form into her ranger form, and like, oh. It would have been so good.
She could have been a spy. Yeah.
Wasted opportunities.
If I'd been in the writing room, probably like, we can't have a cat on set all the time. I'd be like, but I like cats.
We like 90s fighting cats.
It's
There
very
was the
like,
TV show SWAT Cats. We loved it.
I don't care
I
how hard
mean,
it is behind the scenes.
is Adam your favorite fighter, or who's your favorite fighter?
I mean, obviously, Johnny Young Bosch is amazing. Like his fight scene in Always a Ranger when he comes back in Operation Overdrive is like amazing. When like
Amazing.
they're in the warehouse and he's like flipping all over these boxes and stuff. Trying to think of another fighter where it really stands out like that. I mean, to go back to Jungle Fury, the fact that they use different fighting styles and they use different kinds of traditional weapons with different martial arts associated with them is really cool. But I don't think there's a single person in that season where I'm like, they're so amazing.
But then the crazy thing about Adam is all of his fight scenes are unmorphed. Like all of he shows his prowess unmorphed. This wouldn't be a conversation, or if anything, if we only had morphed fight scenes from Adam. I forget what episode it was where he's helping Carlos
Yes.
and
Oh, the one where he comes back.
yeah.
I think it's Back in Black.
He's Black Ranger.
Carlos hits Cassie on
Ah,
accident and like hurts her arm.
yeah.
Complete mental disintegration of a human being in 20 minutes.
Yeah, and Adam comes back and is like, Adam, no, it'll destroy you. Yeah,
There's
this.
an edit of that episode that's edited like a Hollywood trailer that I saw on Instagram. And the person specifically in their thing was like, please don't repost. I don't like to have people repost my stuff. And I still think about that because it was such a good edit. I'm like, I wanted to repost it.
Right. It's so good. Please
Um,
let us show your work. This one's very controversial. Every
ooh.
time I say this, people hate me for it. I don't like SPD.
So you already told me that, so I wasn't surprised.
No, yeah, you knew. Honestly, there's no redeemable qualities for me. I don't like Doggy Kruger. I do like Cat. Cat is cool, but I don't really like any of the Rangers. They don't do anything for me. I guess the only good thing is the A Squad. They're cool.
First female Red Ranger is
Yeah.
Charlie from A Squad, so that's something.
Other than that, it does nothing for me.
That's so
And
wild.
I remember watching it when it first came. I was like, "This is stupid."
Everybody's different. I always find that so fascinating. Something could resonate with you so hard, and someone else is like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's actually kind of comforting because then I know if you make something that's a total dud, there's probably at least one person that loves it.
I mean, yeah, some people what's one of the most hated seasons? Turbo, I think it's one of the word.
Yep,
Turbo's one.
Turbo and Overdrive are the ones. Oh, and Megaforce.
But I enjoyed Turbo.
Turbo's a little stale at points. I do like it, but somehow like the pacing is sort of slower and flat.
Hmm.
I don't really know why. I loved Overdrive. I thought it was goofy and stupid and very like caricaturish, but that worked for me. Yeah, I love SPD. I think it's really well written and I like all the characters.
There's
Um,
absolutely nothing for me in SPD.
I
I
don't know why people like Kruger so much because he's clearly processing a trauma and shouldn't be holding a leader position.
yeah,
Because,
absolutely.
I mean, he literally goes through like the playbook of how a traumatized person processes and handles things. He lashes out, he yells at people and like won't explain why. Things are triggering for him to have like these big
Hmm.
blowouts.
He's just
He
like, do it just because I say so. It's like, but sir, like we're at work. Give us something.
You are a boss, and I am reporting you to HR.
Exactly. Like, can I get a little bit of something? Why do you want us to chase this bad guy, sir? Are you questioning me, Ranger? No, can I get a little bit of context?
Blind obedience is definitely a military thing, and SPD is definitely a military organization, but it
Hmm.
still really irks me. Power Rangers is very different from a military thing, and oftentimes, especially with like the kids show setup and like the moral story that you're going to learn, it's not like real life where you have
Hmm.
to tell someone to go do whatever some mission they're going to do, and if they question you, it's bad. It's a kids show where we're learning something. So there are many instances where if Doggy had just said, do this because that guy's undercover, and if he gets kidnapped, it's worse than you not helping with this, that would have fixed the entire problem. Because the
Yeah.
point of the episode is supposed to be a miscommunication leads to an issue, or like they should have just trusted Doggy. And I'm like, yeah, but why is he just yelling? Why not tell them?
I can't remember if this specifically happened in the show at all, but like if it's a common trope in everything. There's an episode of Young Justice, if you've ever ever seen that show. Well, there's an episode where Kid Flash, he has to take a heart transplant from all the way across the country in a snowstorm. He's like, well, I really want to go fight with everybody else. They're like, no, Kid Flash, you need to do this. And they don't really tell him why. And it's like if Batman would have just said, hey, I need you to deliver this heart because if this little girl dies, then the next in line becomes king of this nation. And his plan after he becomes king of this nation is to destroy half of the world with the nuclear weapons that they have. But nope, he doesn't do it. He's just like, why are you disrespecting me? But because he didn't tell him that, he then gets stopped by Vandal Savage and does a 10-minute fight, which delays the operation that the girl needed. If you would have just told him the information up front, he would have not fought Vandal Savage, would have ran straight to the hospital, got the heart transplant, would have been all good. And that's how I feel like it probably was a couple times in SPD with him, giving.
There is absolutely an episode where somebody's supposed to like take this guy fishing while all their friends are getting beaten up, and they keep telling him they don't want to do it, and he keeps being like, go do it. And then it turns out it's like a secret mission where that guy's transporting something and it ends up getting stolen. And then Kruger's all mad at whoever it is. And they're like,
Give me some transparency. Even if you don't tell anybody else, you just pull me aside and say, hey, this is top secret, but this man is transporting something and I need you to protect him. Don't act suspicious. Just go out, take him fishing. Don't worry about your teammates. We have it under control. Once you finish doing what you're doing, you'll get back to your team and we'll be great. Then whoever that ranger was, be like, I got it. Understandable. And then when your teammates come to you and they say, hey, why didn't you help us? I'm sorry. I had to do what Kruger said. But when you keep everybody in the dark, it leads to more issues.
that's such a common problem with mentor characters in literally
Yeah.
everything.
Everything. Common trope.
And then like guilt trip you about messing it up like it's your fault when I didn't give you
Yeah.
all the context you needed in order to do a good job. I guess if we're doing hot takes for least favorite season, I already told you this, but my least favorite season is Dino Thunder. I know like everyone loves that season. I'm just hard. And it's hard for me too because there's so many things about that season that are incredible. Like the relationship between Trent and Anton, I think is fantastic. The evil good swapping. There's this whole episode where one of them will be good and one will be evil. And the good one's like, oh, turn away from evil. And then they switch places. And the other one's like, no, turn away from evil. And the redemption arc of the non-villain antagonistic characters, like the girl that wants to be a reporter and her friend, is one of the best written ones. I'm with her the whole time and I see the changes happening. And by the time we get to the end of the season, I really feel like her character has changed. And her decision to not reveal their secret identities isn't surprising. And the guy who does Mesogog, which I'm pretty sure is the same guy who does Anton, his performance in that suit is phenomenal. But
Mhm.
I hate the three main characters. I
Fair
hate them
enough.
so much.
Fair enough.
Specifically, Connor. Connor in episode one just rubbed me the wrong way when Ethan asks a question about girls, and Connor's like, girls, the ones at school that have long hair and smell nice? And I'm like, okay, I know that was the writers.
But we got to look at it as that's him.
And it's 2004 again, but
Yeah.
there were girls with short hair in 2004. There were guys with long hair in
Yeah.
2004. Everyone's hygiene level is different. And then at the end, when he's supposed to have learned a lesson by the end of the show and be a better guy after he has a crush on the girl who wants to like save the tree and she's an environmentalist. And then he's like, oh, I've seen the folly of my ways as a womanizer. But then all of like 4 episodes later, Ethan's like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm making 2 lists of potential prom dates. One is girls who have rich dads, and the other one is girls who are pretty. And I'm like, I thought you were going to go with the tree girl. I thought you
Right.
were like smitten with her or something. She taught you a valuable lesson and made you a better person. Why do you have lists?
I enjoy Kira in that season. I think she's great.
I mean, I really like her aesthetic, and I like that they finally had kind of a punk rock character, and I like that it's someone who's into music and it's not a guy. Yeah, I don't know. I think I didn't like the writers for that season because the
Mm.
characters all feel really flat to me. I moved because I wanted to be able to have the picture behind me, so you can see it between my fingers. I put a green screen behind me.
This makes sense.
No more hat rack. Yes, while we're talking about characters that we think are jerks, I think this is a hot take, but I think Taylor from Wild Forest is not a good person, and I don't really like her.
Oh, the Yellow Ranger. Yeah, I don't like her either.
Everyone loves her. I mean, she's a strong female character, which is great, and she's played well, and she has cool fashion sense. But like, what's with how quickly she kidnaps Cole? Like, first of all, that the others go along with it. Second of all, that the only one who apologizes to him is Alyssa, who had nothing to do with it. And
None.
That is her go-to move. He wakes up, he's confused because he's surrounded by strangers, and they're like, "What's up?" Blah 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 nonsense, and he's like, what? I'm sorry, what?" And she just immediately is like, "Pacha!" And I she didn't even have like a second try. Like, "Hey, we're from da da da.
Mhm.
We need your help." She just
Right.
go to is just, "I'm gonna punch this guy so hard he passes out."
Her saving grace of why I think she was like that was probably because she was the leader up until Cole came along. So she's probably salty.
I know, but that's not an okay way to
I
get
don't
your
listen.
emotions.
I don't agree. I don't disagree with you.
She should have stayed the leader. I mean, she
She
would have
should
been a
have.
better leader than him.
Back in the day, you had to have the Red Ranger as the leader.
I would like to switch that up. It'd be nice to see whoever's most suited to be their leader.
Yeah, they did kind of switch it up with Cosmic Fury, and I appreciate that with giving her the Red Ranger. I can't think of her name right now.
You've made me space. Hunter Dino.
Yeah, Hunter. I'm trying to think of
Her
her
last name
character
is
name.
Jones. Hop
I don't
Pop
know.
Jones. Amelia. Amelia.
Amelia, yes. I could not think of it for the life of me. I'm like, what is her name? Yeah, Amelia as the Red Ranger, very saving grace. But I also would have loved her to just stay as Pink, but be the leader. Like, I thought that that would have been cool as well.
Well, you got Tommy is the White Ranger as the leader. Delphine is the White Ranger as the leader.
Hmm.
You have Jen, who's technically the leader, but it's kind of like a partnership because he's the like ranked leader and she's kind of the brains. And then you have Taylor for like less than one episode.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
But yeah, later in the season, then she yells at Kite, the kid, and he leaves. And there's this scene where she's alone on the animarium because everyone's out looking for him because they're legit worried about him. And you think she's gonna have this moment where she's like, "Oh, I was too harsh on him." And she kind of doubles down. If I'm not mistaken, I think she yells at him again at the end of the episode. And you're like, this woman kidnaps homeless strangers and verbally abuses children, and yet so many people go hold her up on this pedestal as like one of the greatest rangers of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, she's great in a fight.
She is great in the fight. I will say Wild Force brought us obviously the Iron Bison, which great. But then it also gave us Forever Red, top tier crossover
Oh
episode.
yeah.
Even though my favorite is the Lost Galaxy in space crossover episode against the Psycho Rangers. Like
Yeah.
that at prime storytelling.
Return of a great villain, just like a bunch of really likable characters, badass entrance with lots of explosives.
You got Scowling Andros returning. I'm gonna make up a number, and it's like, oh, there's only six of you to 10 of us, and then all of a sudden the other four Rangers pop up. How about now? And I'm like, oh, this is so epic because at the time you didn't expect it. You just okay, guess they could only bring Andros back. That would have been the first crossover episode, like of the new era.
Yeah, I mean, technically, yeah, other than like the bleed over of people slowly
Yeah,
coming and leaving, that was like the characters come back. Justin has a crossover episode in space, but it's one person and
yeah.
it's not really the same thing. Yeah, crossover episodes. Why did we stop doing that?
I don't know. We should not have stopped. They got rid of crossover episodes in favor of, I don't even know.
It was the cost of moving filming to New Zealand made it so they could
That's
no
what it
longer
was.
afford to fly the actors out for the crossover, which they did like a couple times after that, I think.
There was
But
like special occasions, like the
yeah.
20th year, 25 year, stuff like that. But and then they kind of went down in quality.
Oh, they really did. They just show up and you're excited to see them.
I think they actually did it in the Sentai, but then they have like Forever Blue episodes and yeah, I'm like, we never got any of those. It would have been so great.
Well, and the Sentai does those spin-off special movies every once in a while, which is what Even
Mm.
Once and Always is. But I feel like they do it every couple seasons. Because I know Beast Morphers, there's like a helmet design that's slightly different for the Red Ranger, and that's from a movie that pairs with the show. There's a couple other ones. People will bring them up to me and be like, oh, that's actually not from the show. It's from this TV special. It's like an hour long, fun time crossover.
Actually, I think all like a lot of the seasons are on Tubi now, the Sentai seasons, and
Yes.
I started watching a couple of them not too long ago. So the Mighty Morphin
Zero
comparison.
Ranger, I think.
I heard that the Green Ranger storyline is a lot more in depth, so I wanted to like see that.
When I just said Zero Ranger, my phone thought I said, "Hey Siri," like
They're
that.
listening. Now they're going to sell you Power Ranger stuff,
They
and
already did.
it'll work.
Yeah, I'll buy it. I just finished my first season of Super Sentai. I watched Magi Ranger, which is the one that Mystic Force is adapted from.
Hmm.
Very good. Loved it.
Really?
I was making a series. I still have to make the last episode because I watched the last 5 episodes of it, and I need to make a little review video. But Delightful. Definitely more intense than Power Rangers, a lot more carnage.
Really?
So that's why I need to be careful with the Super Sentai, because one of the things I really love about Power Rangers is that everything's going to be okay at the end. And so it's comforting. Whereas with Super Sentai, I know characters will actually like die or have devastating issues and
Yeah.
trauma. So I really need to invest the seasons I'm going to watch or investigate and be like, what happens in this?
I do want to watch Megaforce, their Sentai version, because the little bit that I've seen of well, I've seen all of Megaforce, but them using the keys to transform and whatnot into Legendary Rangers, I'm like, I want to see how that was like actually incorporated into the Super Sentai. Because I'm like, I feel like they would have done it 10 times better than we did it.
I mean, I've heard the legendary battle in the Sentai version is actually like really well executed, which is why it's
Hmm.
so disappointing that it's kind of subpar in Megaforce because if you've seen the Sentai, you're going to be really let down.
I might just go watch Legendary Battle for the Sentai and see what happens. So, are you a fan of the 95 movie?
Oh yes. It's everything a movie should be. Fun costumes. They travel around, not to the point that it's overwhelming, but to the point that you get to see fun different locations. There's a series of battles. You still get the plot line of like they've lost the power and have to get it back. However, they knew what the audience wanted and they give you that morphed fight scene at the beginning so that you're not the whole movie like the 2017 one. By the end, you say it would have been nice if we had any other fight scenes other than just at the very end when they get their
Yeah.
suits, which it
That
makes
was my main concern. They didn't morph. People want to see Power Rangers for the morph. That's
and
literally it. And then the other stuff, that's plus. I got to see them morph. I got to see some cool fight scenes. I got to have some stupid quips, some corny punchlines, and then just a great story on top of that. But the main thing is we want to morph.
another big one for me that kind of is a reason I don't like the 2017 movie as much as the 1995, which I still like it. I think it's a
Yeah, yeah,
great movie,
yeah, same.
is that there were no real unmorphed fight scenes. They have the training montage in the command center, but Power Rangers to me is like a Jackie Chan movie. You want
Yeah.
a scene where they're in an alleyway with those wood flats that are clearly made out of
Mm-hmm.
foam and they're jumping on some railing and flipping off a car, like
Yes.
that classic interacting with your surroundings and using found items as weapons while you're in your civilian clothes before you do the big fancy morphin explosion. They could have had one of those in the 2017 where they're behind the school and some putties show up or
Yeah,
something.
I think one of the main issues with at that time period, when that movie came out, the world or at least the country was really into making movies that were hyper realistic. We really lost the fantasy of anything at that point. Yeah, you can have it be realistic, but you also have to remember that this is Power Rangers. You still have to have that whimsical aspect to it. And they just try to make it so dark and gritty. You're like, oh, I'm a Power Ranger. Like that wasn't the spirit of the show. The spirit of the show is holy shit, we're superheroes now. And I'm like, you can still have that grittiness of like, oh, I have this issue, I have this issue, I have this issue. But then the joy of them coming together and being Power Rangers, I think was lost. And I
Yeah.
think that's one reason why it didn't do as well as people wanted.
I think as a summer blockbuster, if it was not affiliated with the Power Rangers name, it is popcorn movie, totally great.
Oh yeah,
I think the fact that it's
I see that.
Power Rangers is kind of what let it down because
Yeah.
there's a legacy and there's expectation. Also, one of my main things that I really love about Mighty Morphin is the character archetypes. The fact that instead of being the jock Red Ranger, he's a karate guy and he likes to
Hmm.
help people. And instead of being the girl who only likes to go to the mall, she's an accomplished gymnast that's slightly outside the box while still sort of adhering to the same archetype. And then in the freaking 2017 movie, they slid right into it. They were like, he's on the football team and she's a cheerleader. Ah.
Where is their backstory? Like, what makes them so great? Like, what made them who they are as Rangers? And they, like you said, they got rid of it. But I did hear that they're coming out with a new movie, a new one.
Yeah, that's the rumor. The thing Hasbro's gonna do is a movie and that it's currently in talks, working on a
And
script.
crossing fingers. I've seen a
I
lot of fan casts for Rangers, and there's been some where I've been like, that is a great idea. Specifically, the Red Ranger, the kid from Cobra Kai.
I didn't watch Cobra Kai because that's another that's a real drama show, and I don't know
Mm.
if I can handle the down points of the show where everyone is upset.
Tanner Buchanan.
Tanner Buchanan. It's a little blown out. Okay, I don't think I do know who that is.
I think he would be a good Red Ranger.
Well, I mean, if he was in Cobra Kai, obviously he's got the moves.
He would be a better Tommy. He often played the antagonist in Cobra Kai, and top tier.
I don't know if I trust Hasbro to hire a good casting director, honestly.
I feel like they're going to try and skimp out.
Casting really is an art,
It
and
is.
we don't always get what we want. I see a lot of people be like fan cast, and I'm just like, they're not going to give us what the perfect thing would be. We're just
Yeah.
gonna get what we get.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. The original Mighty Morphin cast, fantastic
Oh,
together. Great, great, great,
fantastic.
great, great. I mean, they were all pretty great. Just I don't really care for Samurai and Mega Horse.
Those are the last two seasons that I haven't watched. I saved the best for last. The
I don't think I've seen Samurai all the way through. I've seen bits and pieces. Oh yeah, I haven't seen Ninja Steel.
I like
Eh,
Ninja Steel. It's very much my brand, but I totally
mm.
get why people wouldn't like it.
But I've seen Megaforce. I've seen Dino Fury, Cosmic Fury. Great. I love Izzy and Javi.
Classic, like the actors don't have their pattern down and they're not fully into the characters yet. Like, no matter how much you prepare, there's always that first start of a season where maybe they're not really in a rhythm. I wasn't so sure about Dino Fury when it was just the first three because I think they were having that problem. And
Hmm.
then when they brought in Izzy and Javi, like those guys were just magic from moment one. And I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be awesome. And then by the time you get to season two, all the characters are really in their groove and I like all of them. Maybe not Ollie a ton.
Fair enough. Izzy and Javi, I think that their chemistry and their brother and sister dynamic is so, so good. Yeah, especially in the finale of Dino Fury, where they're kind of running down the Megazord together and they're running down and they're just slicing through them and they're just like making quips off of each other. I also love how they throw each other their weapons and I'm like, oh, this is so good.
I love all of the sibling pairs in Power Rangers, but I'm
Hmm.
surprised we've never gotten more than two. It's always two siblings. Magi Ranger, all five of them are siblings. And I think that would be a really cool thing for Power Rangers to do, or to have three people. I guess if you count Trey of Triforia, that's one person, but it is triplets.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to see more, like a bigger family presence on a Power
I
Ranger.
think I think that would be cool. I don't think that they would ever do it, but I do think that that would be a cool story of like five siblings.
There's been more than one Sentai season where they do that because people told me that Lightspeed Rescue, the Sentai of that, also is five siblings.
Speaking of Lightspeed Rescue, Carter, shoot first, ask questions later, Grayson. So funny. Rewatching that show, as a kid, I didn't realize how much he actually did shoot first, which is so funny to me because he's a firefighter. Rewatching it as an adult, I'm like, man, he really does just shoot people, just shoot all the villains.
He did
Like,
every
I don't feel like dealing with this. Shoot. Carter, ask
That's
questions.
the whole crux of that first like big emotional development episode for him is that he shot at the explosive barrels and is in trouble for like almost causing an explosion. He does not learn that lesson. That is his MO the entire season.
Even when he comes back for Forever Red, same thing. He's fighting with Andros, fighting one of the villains. Andros jumps off of Carter's back. For a little bit, he comes off a frame, and then he comes back with two blasters. Like, where did you find this extra blaster, Carter? Now Andros and Carter are both shooting. It's so hilarious. And I'm like, this is on brand.
He probably looked at the guy next to him and said, "Hey, throw me your blaster."
The Unmorphed fight scene in Forever Red, so
Oh,
good. That's what I miss so much about the newer Power Ranger seasons. The Unmorphed fight choreography was so good back then. Because I
yeah.
mean, all things considered, they were all martial artists.
I
And
think that Beast Morphers does a pretty good job with the unmorphed fight choreography. That was one of the seasons where there's a lot of fun stuff, like they'll be holding a prop that they're trying not to get destroyed, or they'll be
mm,
jumping on a car, or they're on like a playground at one point or something. But yeah, a lot of the unmorphed fight scenes do tend to just kind of be on the sidewalk somewhere, in the Neo Saban era, particularly.
I miss when they would, like you said, they would use the picnic table. They would jump off of it and then do a kip up off of the picnic table and then go into a somersault backflip and then kick another putty. Like, oh, it was so, so good. It kept you entertained. I think of, like I said, Forever Red when they're doing the unmorphed fight scene and they're all in like the warehouse and you have, I forget which ranger it was, but they're like doing some backflip and then they kick one of the cogs and then he like slides back underneath a desk and then the desk like slides all the way back. It's so good. Like, we don't get that anymore.
I think that's the difference between in that era, they were going for like, what is a ratings grab. Like, what do we have? Anything in our arsenal, throw it out there because we want
Hmm.
the views. And then once you get further along in the years, it's how can we save money because we already have the name and the clout of that. And
Hmm.
we don't want to spend all this extra time, choreographing crazy things or
And I mean, that makes sense, but the fans want it.
I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think that Izzy and Fern are the best developed couple in Power Rangers.
Oh, yeah.
Which is because of the writing. Obviously, like as you get further along, there's more detailed writing. And I mean, even as far back as just to Dino Charge, for some reason they weren't allowed to say love. I just watched all of the Christmas episodes with Sparta Green Ranger, and there's a Christmas episode where they get turned into evil elves, and there's a fight between Shelby and Tyler after they're a couple, which is so dramatic and corny and almost hurts to watch a little bit, but is like perfect, where he's trying to talk her out of it and she's trying to kill him. And then when the fight is over and she's like, oh my God, Tyler, I'm so sorry I was attacking you. He says, that's why I really like you. He doesn't say that's why I love you. And it totally ruins the entire scene. You're like, oh, I feel
Yeah.
that this is so disingenuous now. Like, you really like her?
I really like
You
you.
were just
What?
having like an epic sword fight where you're like begging her not to fight you because you're in love and it's pure rich drama. And then the producer was like, nah, you can't put love in the script. And then you get to Izzy and Fern and they actually say, I love you. And it completely changes everything. In Cosmic Fury, them actually having a little bit of drama and being shown having healthy conversations as a couple is just so good.
It's so refreshing. I love it. There's so much about the Ranger lore and relationships and friendships that I absolutely love. Top tier. Especially like even some of the sibling relationships are so good. Even going back to Lightspeed with can't think of their names.
Dana and Ryan.
Even that relationship so good. Corone and Andros, their whole storyline so good.
I would have loved if she was calling Andros or writing him emails or something every once in a while she was in Lost Galaxy, just to like reference that they're
Yeah.
still rebuilding their relationship. They haven't seen each other for 10 years.
Yeah. And even Zane, even his like little dynamic of being thrown in there is like, hey, you're my best friend and I like your sister. But your sister's evil. She hates me, but she also likes me.
I was annoyed they never developed that past that one episode. There's so many little nuggets of relationships that they've started and not done anything with, like Taylor and Eric from Wild Force and Time Force in the crossover episode. I want to know where that went. That had serious potential. They're a really good match. They're both super angry jerks.
You know what just hit me? The Silver White Ranger wasn't in the In Space Lost Galaxy crossover. And he could have been because you had the Magnet Defender there as well.
Is he really not in it? You sure he doesn't just show up at the end or
He's
something?
not in it.
Okay, I'm
Because
Googling.
you have both pinks, you have both yellows, you have the black and green, and then you have both reds. You have the Magnet Defender fighting by himself.
Why?
That's so sad.
Why would they do that?
Why would they do that to Nemo? Nemo, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I love
Hate
you.
it.
You
What
should have been
the heck?
there.
I'm, st-
Ne
I'm, st-
Nemo, tell me why you weren't there.
I'm still in denial.
Oh my God, that blows my mind.
You're probably right. Nah.
When I see you in Atlanta, I'm asking you why you weren't there. Forever Red was one of the funniest lines from that crossover episode is when the end after they've defeated the Machine Empire for the second time and they're all walking away and TJ is like, did I ever tell you about the time I got baked into a pizza? I miss moments like that in Power Rangers, like where they would make fun of themselves.
Well, when they reference things that fans hold on to, like that, the pizza scene in Turbo is something fans bring up again and again.
We're
Something
gonna toss your salad.
you don't know what that means. Though that was something I really liked about Cosmic Fury is before it came out, I actively saw people debating whether or not Zato and Ion were older than the Mighty Morphin team, or if it didn't count because they had been cryogenically frozen or whatever for millennia. And then they made a joke about it in Cosmic Fury. They were listening. The writers were maybe looking at the Reddit arguments.
Yeah, I've said this about a lot of things, not just Power Rangers fandom, but fandoms in general. You need to have fans of the show writing this stuff. If they're not writing it, you need to have them in the room and giving ideas to people who are writing A perfect example of that, and going a little bit off topic again, is if you've ever seen My Adventures with Superman,
No.
new animated series about Superman. And you can tell people who are writing for the show and animating for the show, they enjoy Superman and they enjoy anime because it's so funny. They give Superman a magical girl transformation. Only someone who is fans of anime and Superman would do this. I feel like non-fans would just be like, oh, let's just have him put on a suit or just cut to him already in the suit. But getting that shot, like you could tell, it was from a place of love. And I feel like we need that with Power Rangers again. We need people who love this franchise to write it. And I think we were starting to see that at Cosmic Fury.
I saw, the interview that came out before Always a Ranger. The two writers that were in that interview seemed genuinely nerdy and excited about it. And then just the production company screwed them over by cutting their amount of shoot time. And same with Cosmic Fury. I think it was that same team.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like those people really wanted to do a good job, but it's just like Hasbro and production being concerned about turning a profit, which again, it's a business, but they have plenty of money.
And that's what I think the executives don't realize is you will make money if you make a good product. If you give us a 2-hour Netflix special about Power Rangers and it's great, we will sit down and we will watch all 2 hours multiple times and get your streaming revenue up. But if you give us a 30-minute piece of crap and you're like, well, we saved money because it was 30 minutes, then you're really not going to get your money back because we're going to watch it one time and that's it.
I think I have only watched it once.
Yeah, I've watched it one time. It's sad because the 95 movie I watch consistently.
It's amazing.
It's
Again, it goes back to ratings grabs of just let's throw anything at it, which is kind of like giving the fans what they want, though. Skydiving right into rollerblading with songs going along with it, and then you almost instantaneously fall into an unmorphed fight, which becomes a morphed fight. And all of that is in the setup of like we haven't even gotten to the story yet.
It's so 90s, and the soundtrack is phenomenal. The Red Hot Chili Peppers singing as their Power Rangers are jumping out of a plane. Like, who would have thought of that? Only a fan.
And the puns, yeah. Kimberly does have a nice trip, see you next fall, when she trips someone later, but when she jumps out of the plane, she also does one about falling.
She says, catch you on the flip side.
There you go.
She jumps out
She
of the
does
plane.
a backflip.
Listen, yep, I asked David when I saw him at Ranger Stop last time if they came up with all the puns or if they were written. And he was like, oh, sadly, they were all written. I was like, man, you guys delivered those perfectly. Like, it seems like, in my mind, that they were like, just kind of say what you guys want to say and we'll do multiple takes and kind of choose which ones are the best. But they were like, they were all written. I was like, those writers were great then. Because, I mean, they fit so well for everyone.
These were our hot takes. I guess, what are your hot takes? Leave them in the comments below.
Yeah.
Got anything you want to plug before it cuts us off?
And it was at that point that the recording cut off, which was honestly the funniest thing that could have happened. We had a good laugh about it. Anyway, please like and subscribe. Please follow me. Please follow Miss Jetty. Here's pictures of her social, and I've got it linked down in the captions. I hope you have an awesome day.